Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again Thursday, and as you guys know, Thursdays mean updates. And as per usual, we have our normal Thursday update with our playlist changes, store items, things along those lines. But on top of that, there was also a Warzone update that came out today that has some weapon adjustments, as well as some other basic gameplay changes specifically for solos. Nothing too crazy, but we're going to be diving into those patch notes, and some things with the weapons will definitely change up some of the things that you are using. However, the one thing I wanted to touch on before we dove into the video is that over the next coming week, you're going to see some new stuff on the channel. There's some new series that I'm bringing to the channel that I think you guys are really going to like, revolving around the story of Call of Duty. We're going to be diving into some stories of some old characters from previous Call of Duty games. You guys always like those, so that is going to be coming back as well. And next week, the return of a series that has been going on for a very long time on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed, all of that good jazz. We have a lot to talk about today with the update, so without further ado, let's dive into it. So starting off with Black Ops Cold War, looking at the playlist, the first one that we have is new. It is Rambo's Gun Game. And honestly, I like this. I've always liked Gun Game. It's always been one of my favorite modes and was always glad when it came to a new Call of Duty game. This one's a little bit different though, because there's a lot of weapons that aren't normally in Gun Game. You have things like the War Machine, Death Machine, the bow, you got the RPG, and then to finish off, you have, first of all, Rambo's Knife, of course, to go with Rambo's Gun Game, and then followed up by the Ballistic Knife. Now, I always hate the knife being in Gun Game, but the Ballistic Knife, in my opinion, is a great way to finish things off. So all in all, I definitely really like this playlist, and I hope it kind of gets rotated in and out even after the 80s Action Heroes event is over. Speaking of which, if we have a look at that, as you can see at the very top there is 6 days and 23 hours left in this event, so make sure you're getting these challenges done. Clearly, I need to take my own advice. After this, we also have Die Hardpoint, which is another one of the 80s Action Heroes events or playlists, if you want to call it that. And then after this, we have Standoff 24/7, Fire Team Elimination, which is that BR mode. If you haven't given this a shot, I highly recommend it. Give it a try. Also, Nuketown 24/7, 12v12 Mosh Pit, which is just 12v12 on the normal maps, Party Games, Gunfight 3v3, which is new this week, and then finally Fire Team Mosh Pit as well. If we have a look at the store items, as you can see, we have a couple of interesting things. First of all, we have the Road Rage bundle. This one is pretty straightforward. You get a skin for Stitch, which is called the Petrol. It actually looks relatively different than normal Stitch, which is kind of cool to see. After this, you also get 2 new weapons, which kind of remind me of Mad Max, but the first of which is a reactive one, which is always pretty cool. One of the more boring reactive ones, but I do like the skin in and of itself. But you can get your weapon to light on fire with a 12 kill streak, which is pretty cool. After this, we have the Battering Ram. This one is for the AK-74U. Pretty straightforward. A really cool vehicle skin. I wish you could use that in Warzone. And then after that, you have a charm, gesture, emblem, calling card. Pretty straightforward. The other thing is the 2 bundles for the event have 22 days left, so if you're planning on getting them, make sure you buy them, make sure you get them before that time period is over. And then the final new one is the Death Veil Maxis. This one is pretty straightforward. You get the creepy version of Maxis, kind of dressed up like a bride. You also get the Death's Vow blueprint. I believe this is for the MAC-10. And then we also have the Death's Protest, which is for the LMG there. You also get the finishing move called the Nailed Down. Pretty straightforward here, just using a pickaxe. And then finally, after that, you have all the normal stuff, the charm, vehicle skin, calling card, sticker. Now, the other thing as far as Black Ops Cold War goes is the free access weekend, which is going on this weekend, May 27th to June 1st. So if you just play Warzone, want to get your hands on multiplayer and Outbreak, this weekend is a great time to do so, as it is free. You just have to download it. It is a big download, but it is free. Moving into Warzone, what we have here is, first of all, as you can see, that Black Ops free access weekend, as we were discussing before. But the playlist we have are the normal solos, duos, trios, and quads. There is a little bit of a change to solos, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. On top of this, Power Grab is around for another week. I'm guessing it's going to be here till at least the end of the 80s Action Heroes event, which, as we talked about before, we have another week on. So play this while you can. Like I said, probably another week. And then Rebirth Resurgence Trios was replaced with Rebirth Resurgence Quads. Pretty straightforward there on the new lighting of the map, which does look really good. If you haven't played it yet, I really highly recommend checking that out. Now, yesterday there was a tweet made by Raven that basically showed this image here, and as far as this goes, it is very cryptic, but essentially what it is saying is, first of all, something to do with a cargo truck, and it looks like the last word is meta there. The middle line says Verdansk still needs saving, and then the line after that says something must be done soon. Seems pretty cryptic. Some people thought this was for an event coming up, but as it turns out, that's not really the case. As you can see there, the first 2 words are cargo truck, last word meta of that first line. And all this had to do with was quite literally the patch notes and cargo truck changes that have happened in solo today. So let's look at the patch notes. So the first thing that we have is gameplay wise, cargo truck spawn rates for Verdansk's solo BR mode have been reduced to 5 static from a range of 16 to 20. A little confusing there, but essentially what you need to know is in solos, there is going to be less cargo trucks. I think they found a lot of people abusing them in the final zones, so they're trying to make them spawn less, which makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that cryptic note, little bit of a letdown. It was literally for one line of the patch notes. After this, we move right into the weapons, the first of which is the CR56 AMAX. They have reduced the headshot multiplier from 1.62 to 1.5. This is the second nerf that we've had in a very short period of time, and essentially their reasoning for it is it's too good at long range, so this is their response to it. I don't exactly know how this is going to affect it. I imagine it's still going to be a pretty decent weapon, but it just won't have as fast as a time to kill with hitting headshots. The next one we have is interesting. It's the FARA 83. With this one, they had the recoil pattern adjusted and hip spread increased. So a larger hip spread, however, there's actually less recoil. They are trying to make the FARA a weapon that you can use at long range, and this should do it. It already had pretty low recoil, so to add this, it's going to be interesting to see how this weapon actually plays out. Then we have the tactical rifle Charlie, aka the AUG. This one, the recoil magnitude decreased. So basically with this weapon, it got nerfed to all hell a couple updates ago, and now they're kind of readjusting for it, and they're making it so that it has less recoil. I don't really see this changing the weapon up too much, simply because they really nerfed the burst delay. I don't see it really being as competitive as it once was. Well, definitely not as it once was. And then finally, we have the LW3 Tundra, and this one's simple. They just adjusted the base optic of the weapon. There was also a couple of attachment changes. First of all, the optics got adjusted and fully reworked for the axial arms 3 times, the Royal Cross 4 times, and the SUSAT multi-zoom. So as far as this goes, essentially they're saying what was holding back some of the long-range viability of some of the Black Ops Cold War weapons was the optics. So it's going to be interesting to see how these compare now to, let's say, the VLK 3 times that we used on a lot of the Modern Warfare weapons, specifically that I used a lot with the AMAX. And then finally, muzzle attachment, specifically the suppressor for the LMGs. They've increased the ADS speed from 2% to 3.5%, and the sprint to fire speed from 4% to 5%, essentially making the suppressor a little bit more viable for the LMGs, making it so that you can move around and adjust your gunfights a little bit faster. So having a look at the Season 3 roadmap, you're going to notice that there is not much left to be added in the remaining 3 weeks of Season 3. The first thing that we have is Action Hero Mosh Pit, that I believe is going to be a combination of Rambo's Gun Game and Die Hardpoint. I believe that's what they said. And then after this, we also have the AMP63, which is the new pistol that will be added. My guess is next week, so you have that to look forward to next week. Other than that, everything else has been added on here, so we'll have to wait to see what actually changes in the remaining weeks. What I will say is this is probably a good time for Soap to actually be added within Warzone. As we know, he's in the game files, he's there, he just has not yet officially been added. So we don't know when that's going to happen. They could wait for the next Modern Warfare game as some sort of pre-order bonus or teaser, but that would be really, really far off and kind of strange. So like I said, we'll have to wait and see. So that is this week's update. Of course, the main points is the meta changes within Warzone. The nerf to the AMAX is pretty big. Cargo trucks if you're a solo player. And then, of course, the FARA one. I'm really interested to see how low that recoil actually is and how viable that weapon is at long range if you equip one of those scopes that was also recently changed as well. So let me know what you think of this update down in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know what wasn't changed that you would like to be changed. Let me know that is changed that you we're glad to see added. I'm curious what you guys have to say, and I'm also really curious to see what comes over the next 3 weeks leading up to Season 4. And of course, as we find that out, I will keep you guys updated. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so. I try to keep you guys up to date on the games as much as possible. So like I said, subscribe, notifications turned on. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps out the channel. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're